The Turkey Dana White move makes a lot more sense now because so the corruption in boxing has been showing. This has been the year of parity in the sport of boxing, right? What does that mean? Well, Gervonta Davis and Lamar Roach had a controversial draw decision the other day, and the commission, the New York State Athletic Commission, came out and they finally, after for some reason they did an investigation just to say, even though it would constitute a knockdown, the action of him taking a knee would constitute a knockdown. They said that the referee has the authority to determine whether or not something is a knockdown. So they're like, we're just going to leave the decision as a draw. And they said there's no guarantee that the other two rounds would have been what they were after the knockdown. But that's not the fight is already scored. All you have to do is just swing. If you constituted a knockdown, the judges have to give the knockdown. That's a 3-point swing that Lamont Roach would have won the fight. It's not about a guarantee or we're not sure. You know what I mean? The judges already judged the fight. But again, if that happens, right, if they do give him that 3-point swing, there's going to have to be refunds issued from Vegas. You're going to have to pay out people who bet on the draw, who bet on Lamar Roach in a certain, who didn't, or who bet on the draw and who bet on Tank Davis. You know what I mean? Those people are going to have, they're going to be, the Vegas is going to lose a lot of money paying those people out. And then if they don't pay those people out or issue refunds, then there's probably going to be a lot of lawsuits coming in. And to be honest, the sanctioning bodies don't want to have a champion that they don't make as much money from, as opposed to a Tank Davis paying them if the A side is paying 2 to 3% as opposed to the B side, the sanctioning bodies make a lot more money. You know what I mean? Even though Gilberto came out and was saying, hey, you know what I mean, that's definitely a knockdown. I feel as though that was to save face and things, because in reality, everybody knew the New York State Athletic Commission wasn't going to overturn this, right? So now we can have a real conversation. The WBC posts this post, not too much far after the Turkey Dana White situation goes down, right? They're saying boxing Grand Prix, right? Now, everybody knows Turkey, they always wanted to have a tournament so that way he could have one true undisputed champion in the sport of boxing per weight class. Recently, Canelo Alvarez does a weigh-in, and him and I think his name is William Skull get on a stage with Turkey, and Turkey says disregard the WBC belt to Canelo, hands him the Ring Magazine belt, hands him the undisputed belt. Suleiman comes out and says, we should not have basically put any credence into the Ring Magazine belt because it's a business that's just all about making money, right? Which is ironic because the WBC, which also stands for We Be Cheating, has not only created fake belts to keep certain champions in place, right? The franchise belt. That belt was made for Loma to duck Devin Haney and for Canelo to duck all of his mandatories for years. And I'm sure that they're making money from that. They're making money from keeping those two guys champions because of how much money they were making per fight. But also, they kept mandatories from fighting each other for years. David Benavidez had been waiting in line as a person who won a title eliminator, who had the WBC interim belt for 3 years. He was the number one ranked WBC fighter for years. He was Canelo's mandatory 4 years. And they interviewed him countless times, asking him, how do you feel that Caleb Plant is getting the fight? How do you feel that Berlanga is getting the fight? How do you feel like Jaime Munguia is getting the fight? To the point to where as soon as he moved up to 175, all of a sudden the WBC is saying you have 10 days to come back down to 168. And then they try to pay him as if he ducked Canelo, but there was no opportunity for 3 years. They've been protecting him for 3 years. They cleared Oscar Valdez to fight on PEDs. They let the Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia fight go down and had nothing to say about the fact that Ryan Garcia was on PEDs. Canelo Alvarez was on PEDs, was never stripped of his belt. He was only suspended for a year, but he only fights once a year anyway. You know what I'm saying? So the WBC has been one of the most corrupt organizations for years. But see, here's the thing, right? This is why the Dana White and And Turkey thing makes sense now because all of this is showing the reason why he brought Dana White into the picture, why he purchased Ring Magazine. Understand something. Back in the day, let me show you something. You know what these boxers were fighting for? Because again, the Ring Magazine belt had been around since 1912, I believe, right? These guys were fighting for a Ring Magazine. They weren't fighting for the WBC. This is before the 4-belt era. These guys were fighting for, this was the undisputed belt. The Ring Magazine belt was the undisputed belt. Now, let me look up something. Let me see something. Oh, no. Good. So that's 1963. All right. The original. So we're talking about 50 years before all of these, before these sanctioning bodies start, because there was the 1-belt era, there was the 3-belt era, and now we're in the 4-belt era. We have the WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF, right? The problem with these sanctioning bodies is the fact that they make so much money from having certain fighters as champions because certain fighters make more money. Hence why it is more lucrative to keep a Canelo to protect him, to keep a Loma to protect him, right? It was at least to keep Tank Davis a champion, right? He doesn't lose his belt in a event of a draw. You know what I mean? That's why when he was in the ring fighting Lamont Roach, he told him, they're not going to give this to you. He already knew what time it was. But now in the ring, the reason why Turkey, again, he went and purchased the Ring Magazine belt is because the plan is to to add structure to boxing. So Dana White, the only thing I had as far as the questions that for how Dana White would run this shit, right? Because it is a conflict of interest for a guy who doesn't pay fighters, who believes in not paying fighters, to then be running an organization that pays fighters a lot of fucking money, right? But I'm thinking that if he's just doing the operations and Turkey is handling the bag and negotiations as far as Ring Magazine belt and stuff like that, and like who's gonna purse negotiations and stuff, because I mean he's in control of the money at the end of the day. It could work. Turkey's always wanted to have a tournament, and he tried to work with the 4 sanctioning bodies, but when you have fighters who are trying to politic their way around getting exposed and losing their positions in the sanctioning bodies, it makes it difficult. So he's saying, we're going to disregard these belts. We're going to make this fight about the Ring Magazine belt, which is the original undisputed belt from all the way back in the day. We're going to use the Ring Magazine belt now to determine who's the real champion. We're going to have another, he has a belt that literally says undisputed, but he has the Ring Magazine belt. The structure is already there. He just needed somebody to help run the operations of the shit, as far as just the combat sport and the managing of all of this stuff, right? Because there's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to rankings. Now, he already kind of setting up a tournament with the May 2nd card. Then you got Canelo on May 3rd fighting for undisputed. Then on May 4th, I think it's Inoue fighting also. And then he has plans all the way. I think Saudi had plans for boxing all the way until 2030 was their mission. So again, with Turkey, partnering with Dana White and TKO, it makes sense, because now you're starting to see Suleiman came out and he said to disregard Ring Magazine and all this stuff, but he's running one of the most corrupt sanctioning bodies in the sport. You know what I mean? So it makes sense now. He's playing ball above their head. He's not going to buy into the sanctioning body politics. He tried already. He tried to get all 4 to work, but they just don't want to put certain people in position to lose because they don't want to lose or make less money. And that's just what it is. So I think that honestly, if he can starve them and dry them up, if he could drive the sanctioning bodies up and have fighters disregard them, because he's still offering those big payouts. He's saying, come fight with us. We are going to make boxing have parity again, right? I hate to say make blah 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 again, but I mean really that's what he's actually doing. Like with the steps we're seeing him take are going to have that effect on the sport because people are going to have the incentive to come fight, which is all I was really worried about in my last video when I talked about the deal in the first place. But the most important ingredient that he has that these sanctioning bodies and networks don't have, Turkey has the type of FU money to say, I'm going to invest $1 trillion into boxing, and they're not going to blink an eye. They make like $13 billion a day over in Saudi from that oil money and all that type of stuff. They make a lot of money, right? Not going to lie. The scariest thing for any organization that exists is for Saudi to get involved in your sport. Like if Saudi got involved in the NBA that we know and that we know now is cooked. Because them players they started their own league. The NBA is cooked. You're gonna have people pulling up to go get $1 billion salary. Like you just never know what's possible. Boxing, it did need this. And Dana's been involved with Saudi for a long time with the UFC. I mean, there were some boxing events in Saudi, but they were never high profile like that until Turkey showed up. So, I mean, now it was just boxing's turn. It's just boxing's turn. And this kills two birds with one stone because now you have true rankings in each weight division for the Ring Magazine belt, which is now going to be considered the undisputed belt. So if you're a new fighter and you're coming into this shit, you have a chance to get paid more. As long as Turkey is involved, you have a chance to get paid more. You're going to have incentive to challenge yourself. The fear of your first loss, that shit is going out of the window. That was manufactured by the way that the sanctioning bodies politicked against certain fighters. Now you can lose and get a chance and to come back and prove yourself. You can, you know what I mean? So we're starting to see unification and parity in boxing that we've never seen before. And honestly, now it makes me excited for what the future holds now that these sanctioning bodies are on the way out of the sport. And what's funny about this fake ass flyer is the fact that there's no date. They just made some goofy ass flyer. They just made some dumb ass flyer. A boxing Grand Prix with 128. This is like a fan page making some shit, dude. Who's tagged in this? Not Turkey. Everybody but Turkey. Yeah, Riyadh Season is tagged, but you can tag Riyadh Season in anything. They made a page for this nonsense. 3,000 followers. Who's even man? They posted. How many posts do they have? 75. What is this? I don't think that they see the writing on the wall. This is even. Let me see something. No, it's not what I'm looking for. It's not what I'm looking for. Why is this shit just all of a sudden impossible to find? So I need to post it on my fucking Instagram so I can find it easier. Oh, here we go. So yeah, 3 days ago. So yeah, it was like right after this shit went up. Then the WBC posted about a Grand Prix. That in reality, it doesn't seem like they're in the plans of the tournament. If this is a real thing, then more power to them. But in my opinion, it's looking to me like they're not a part of the plans for the future. The WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, it looks like, look, it's either all or none. And WBC is saying, they said if Turkey is trying to push this Ring Magazine belt, we're going to fight back. How are you going to fight back? By hosting a Grand Prix for the WBC belt? Who is going to participate in this? 128 fighters, 41 nations. You're going to get fighters fighting in this that no one cares to watch. And if you host a tournament like this, as opposed to Turkey hosting his tournament, you can see already that his tournaments are going to have nothing but star players. big fighters, big names, based on the card we're going to see on May 2nd already, and the plans he has for October and everything like that, September with Bud Crawford and Canelo. I mean, you're cooked. So now it makes complete sense. We'll see what the future holds for, you know, the sanctioning bodies, but to me, it's not looking like they're going to be a part of the future plans, but we'll see. Y'all leave your thoughts in the comment section, man. I'm gone.